Welcome to the Daily Influence, where our mission is to deliver a daily dose of positive influence that can uplift you personally or be shared within your sphere of influence. While not every episode may directly apply to your unique circumstances, we strive to provide insights and inspiration relevant to most people's daily, weekly, and monthly lives. Whether you are tuning in during the morning, noon, or night, the Daily Influence is here for you. Listen, share, and embrace the power of influence in your life. Hey everybody, Brian Smith here with the I and Team series and your Daily Influence. Today I'm going to be talking about building a culture of accountability. And accountability happens to be one of those business terms, those business functions, those personal tasks that leadership companies often struggle with the most. How do you instill a culture of accountability into a larger group of people? To begin with, it starts with you. It starts with the individual. If the leader doesn't have individual accountability, in other words, if they are one of those leaders who is a do as I say, not as I do type of leader, where they break the rules in front of everybody, and the excuse is, I'm the boss, I'm the owner, I can do whatever I want. Well, you cannot lead from that perspective. You cannot have a culture of accountability if those at the top, or if anybody in the organization, any individual with any authority in the organization, does not behave tactically, verbally, and in all ways consistent with what the company's core values are, what the company's mission is, and what the company's policies and procedures are. Every time those things are violated in any way, you damage the culture of accountability. You set precedent with those around you, and you threaten to create a company that has no culture of accountability. And without a culture of accountability, we find ourselves in a reactive culture. We find ourselves in a culture of excuses and justification, in a culture that probably has a lot of turnover from the employee side, potentially a lot of turnover from the customer side and the vendor side. And what's funny about this is that oftentimes companies who lack accountability expect others to be accountable themselves. They have a higher standard of accountability. It's like a person who is really dishonest will come across as holier than thou and as the most honest person in the world and expect the utmost honesty in others, even though they themselves conduct themselves differently. The way to define personal accountability is to make sure that each individual person understands what they're accountable for, what their area of influence is, what their responsibilities are, and how they are expected to do that. If you as an organization don't provide that to them in a smart way, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely way, then you are setting a team up, an individual up, to not be able to be personally accountable. And if you don't provide that good foundation, it's really hard to hold them accountable because they don't even know to what standard they're supposed to be accountable for. But when we start with the individual, which basically starts at the advertising time for a job, through the onboarding time, and when we put them in that role within our organization, when we do that, we start to build little individuals, one part of the company each, that has a clear understanding of what their roles are. When we share with them the roles that influence them, so within a company, maybe within a department, accounting, marketing, sales, when we understand how those roles influence others and how we support other parts of our organization through our actions, how we support individuals, individual groups, how we support our customers, how we might even support our vendors, how we report, how we communicate. When we understand and we build on this and foster a supportive team culture, we begin to build team accountability. When we encourage accountability and we don't threaten people with it, when we don't discipline people for it, when we use accountability as a way for us to learn and to improve, then accountability becomes an even bigger and more positive part of our team culture. And when leadership does this, when leadership holds themselves accountable in a very visible way. When leadership can look in the mirror or look to an entire team and accept ownership for a mistake they make or doing something that has caused some kind of negative influence to somebody in their area of influence. And when they hold themselves accountable to that, that's when we get leadership accountability and we really see this responsible influence within a culture of accountability become and manifest itself throughout the organization. Doing this takes consistency. It takes consistency. It takes consistency. It also takes positivity. It takes humility. It comes from a certain amount of emotional intelligence, servant leadership. Sometimes they're big pills to swallow, but when we practice this individually within our areas of influence as teams, and as leaders, you will see a transformation in overall positive and responsible improvement throughout your entire organization. You will understand how powerful it is as you get feedback from vendors, customers, new employees. As you see turnovers get reduced, turnovers in employment, turnovers in customers, and turnovers in partners and vendors. To build a culture of accountability, define it, foster it, lead it. Make sure that you are smart about setting the goals, communicating the goals, and tactically engaging to reach those goals. And when you do that, the culture of accountability will pay you dividends over and over, day to day, hour to hour. And you will watch your company grow and your area of influence, how positive you are, and how people think of you, look of you, and judge you will begin to be much more positive. I hope you'll tune in again in the future to another one of our lessons. And if you haven't picked up our latest book, Responsible Influence, Build the I in Team, or any of the I in Team series books, please consider doing so, sharing them with your friends, family, in your workplace, and build that positive, responsible culture of accountability. Have a great day.